Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the retirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for tuning in, joining us on the podcast, on the stream, on the broadcast, however you're picking us up. We totally appreciate everything. And everybody that subscribes to the YouTube channel, remember you can get all those things over there and all my funny little sports things I put on my shorts. Check those out. We'll give you all that detail later. Last week, season 15 kickoff. I can't even believe I'm saying that, actually, everybody, because it's like, when we started this thing 14 years ago, this was like sort of a whim, sort of a kind of a thing. You just sort of just go with this. It's just like, all right, let's give it a shot. A window of opportunity opens, boom, jump through the window of opportunity. That's why I'm such a window of opportunity person. So it's interesting to say that, we're starting our 15th season here. So never give up on your dream. Never, ever give up on your dream, because you never know. And now we're in our retirement zone doing radio and writing stuff and coaching people and training people. But today, Mike Draheim, I get that right, Mike?
Yes.
Draheim is with us. XLR8 Sports Training is what we're going to call this one today. Athletic training. This whole concept of youth athletics, adult athletics, but mostly for the youth and the college athletes. And I don't put them all in the same bucket. Okay. So we're going to go from like 25 years old down to kids. All right. So let's just call that right now. This man can help you get your kids in the spot that you want to be in, or yourself as far as your speed training. I've learned a lot from Mike. We'll talk about the whole story of how I found Mike and what he's doing with his gym. XLR8 Sports Training is a very, very unique situation that I came across with my grandkids. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But I want to welcome to the show for his first time, my buddy. We've been talking about this for a long time, getting Mike on the show and promoting his stuff. It's like, finally, Mike Draheim is with me, my buddy. How you doing, pal?
Good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. So the drill, man. Let's talk about, this is your life. Talk about your family. I mean, you're a graduate of the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. You're an athletic trainer. You've done all these things. But tell everybody about yourself, Mike. I could read your resume and your bio, but unnecessary. I've got some client testimonials of yours from your website that I'm going to share later. But go ahead. Tell everybody about you and how this all came to be. Go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, this is just finished my 26th summer training in the Valley. Originally from, if you're familiar with Lake Winnebago, just under Green Bay, where Menasha's just on top of that lake. I grew up on the east side, about halfway down, went to school on the west side, halfway down the lake, and just have been in the area since. So basically grew up small town, ran cross country track, did some basketball and baseball until I had some injury issues. I had to kind of set them aside to kind of focus on what I needed to do for college. And then went to Oshkosh, went to school to do athletic training. But then when I got done, I wanted to do more sports performance training, because with my track and cross country background, ran there for 5 years for track, and then was lucky enough to go to nationals a couple times for that. But then after, wanted to do more sports performance, and with taking the background that I learned for athletic training that I went through, and then with the sports performance, I think that's what kind of helps us understand the athletes a little bit better than versus just for personal training or things. We're actually doing a lot of stuff with kids that are coming off of injuries and progressing them, and also understanding how kids could get hurt and helping prevent that by doing the right training. And so it's 26 summers complete here in the Valley. For family wise, I married my wife, and I'm married a little over 20 years now. My son Lucas is 11, big basketball kid. Baseball is number one.
Does he use your gym there, Coach?
Yes, he does. He's got a tryout coming up tomorrow for 2 days for baseball. It goes to Cooperstown, New York. So he's been in since school started. He walks. Luckily enough, he can walk from school, and pretty much every day he's doing some kind of thing for his training. Sometimes just some light stuff. Sometimes it's just more of some conditioning, and some days like, hey, we got to have a rest day because just on how he is. So when he comes in, we kind of figure out how he's feeling. That's with all our athletes. Some days we might have a plan and they walk in and they're like, man, I'm sore from open gyms. We had actually lifting at school and stuff. Well, we compliment just by saying, oh, this is what we got planned. It's not good for the athlete, and and stuff. So it's kind of tailored. So he walks in and say, okay, how you feeling? All right, this is what we got planned. Can we do this? And that's kind of what our thing with all our athletes is it's an individual program, even though we work in small groups, because when the athletes come in, we can assess what they got. But here's our goal. But there might be some days we got to regress a little bit. We can't just push. So yeah, he's fully engulfed in training right now, which is he's at that age where he understands a little more and he sees that. So that's kind of the fun thing, is having him in the building more often too.
That's great. Now the whole thing, let me reset this thing for everybody. XLR8 Sports Training. Now it's XLR8, everybody, Sports Training. Mike Draheim is my buddy. I've known Mike for about a year now, or maybe a couple. I've been taking, the way I met Mike was I was taking Harpy, my granddaughter, and my grandson, Brecken, to Mike's gym. Ashley had found Mike's gym, and I was very curious because she had checked in with me, Mike, beforehand, and I was telling her, I said, you need to get into some sports performance stuff with these kids. And listen, everybody, this whole show is going to be kind of a foundational thing where Mike has given us some ideas about this unique niche training that he has. But let me tell you something right now. Mike's a track guy, okay? Mike's a track guy. Track guys know how to teach track. Track guys know how to teach running, okay? I'm a personal trainer. I don't know how to teach running, okay? I would go to Mike. I go to Mike's gym and I want him to teach me stuff. I mean, that's the way it works with this stuff. So if you want to get better, if you want your kids to get better, you need to find the right avenue and the right area to go to. And frankly, Mike, when Ashley told me about it, I said, well, what's the cost on the package? And I did the math. And I mean, I came up with it. The number was perfect. I said, this is a very, very, very good deal for what you're getting for this. And this was before I even met you. And so talk about some of the advanced stuff that you're doing with that big, those two treadmills that you have there. We got about 2 minutes to go before we go to break here, and I'll give you the signal, but we're going to talk about this through the whole show. But talk about some of the extra, the cool stuff you got at I'm going to call it a laboratory, because it's more like a laboratory than a gym.
Well, it kind of is, because we're basically breaking down the athletes. So we have high speed treadmills where the kids can't slow it down. So basically we're getting the same ground reaction stuff that on the ground. So I get able to put as much force, otherwise I come back. It's not like a traditional treadmill where you land and you can change the belt and okay, it's not really going 12 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour. But then we have mirrors in front. So not only are we right there behind the athletes spotting them, we're talking with them. We're saying, hey, watch your right arm, watch how your foot's landing. Well, now with the mirrors, they actually see it. And then the third component is they're feeling it. So when they're not with us, they're not in front of the mirror, they know like, oh man, this doesn't feel right. And it's a process, because we got to train those muscles, the neural system and all that, to adapt, because they're, if a 15-year-old kid's been running probably about for 14 years, his body's adapted, kind of walking, jogging and stuff. And as we develop as an athlete, as a child and into an athlete, we get mechanisms that, hey, our body works a certain way. So it takes us a little bit. So, but the three components is they're hearing what we're seeing. They're seeing what we're seeing, and then they can feel it. And that's kind of the biggest component for, especially doing sprint mechanics and things. We got to start with the stride and all that, the length of the stride, the turnover, the posture, the arm carriage, and the head position. There's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into running, and that allows us to do it all in one spot. If you just do like A skips and B skips, like track drills, okay, but now how does that correlate when I start going across the ground faster? Am I hitting the brakes? Am I slowing down? Am I changing my posture because I'm hitting the brakes? Well, that's detriment to my speed. And then also I'm going to have some injury issues, possibly with IT band, patellar tendonitis or something like that. So, but yeah, all that kind of goes together.
Mike Draheim is with me today, everybody. XLR8 Sports Training, we call this one. I'm going to spell it out again because it's XLR8 Sports Training, XLR8. Look that up. He's in Menasha, did I say that right? Menasha, Wisconsin. And I think his model is something that could be replicated all over the country. Frankly, I think he could franchise this idea totally. And we're going to talk about what he has in his laboratory, his gym over there at XLR8 Sports Training, because there's so much money going into youth sports and kids getting personal training. You got to know that you're getting bang for your buck. We got the guy who can tell us the truth. We're going to get the truth here. That's what we do here on the Tom Matt Show. It's all about integrity and it's all about truth. XLR8 Sports Training. Mike Draheim is with me. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Appreciate everyone so very much. You have no idea. And when they're starting our 15th season, I can't say enough about the listeners and the fans of the show, and I can't say enough about our sponsors, because our sponsors are what keep the show rolling. We have to have sponsorship because we have staff that we have to pay. We have websites that we have to. There is a lot of things that go into this business that we have to take care of, and thankfully, we have good sponsors who have helped keep us on air for 14 years. And again, if anybody else is out there that fits our niche and you want to talk to me about a segment sponsor like the one I'm going to do right now for Brock, hit me up, because we got a couple available, but it's got to be a good fit. So Brock Fletcher, enough to talk about Tom. Brock Fletcher at the selling team of Keller Williams Realty is the bomb. He's our guy. He's been our guy. You guys hear me talk about this. He's on the show a lot because he's got so much good information. The main thing I want you guys to understand is trust. We trusted Brock, Mikey, the whole crew, Stacy, the whole team over there at the selling team of Keller Williams Realty in Lansing. Sell your home without hassles. Here's some numbers coming at you. You ready, guys? 517-853-6408 is the office number. 853-6408. The super secret, which isn't so super secret anymore, I just say that. 517-303-3262. 517-303, because I said that kind of fast, I apologize. 517-303-3262 is Brock's cell phone number. Text him, leave him a voicemail. He will get back to you. Promise you. Again, do like we did. Sell big house without any hassles. Hit the number right on. Buy Little House Lansing with Mikey's help. It's all good. Okay. And lastly, I want to say hello to Joan Wright. Joan, thank you for being a fan of the show and being a fan of Brock Fletcher and telling Brock that you listen to the show on WKAR. And I appreciate that very much. And for all of you out there, thank you for listening to us on WKAR at the University of Michigan State University on Sundays at 5 p.m. Okay, back to today's show. XLR8 Sports Training. My buddy Mike Draheim. He's a track guy, okay? He's got the coolest gym. And believe me, guys, I've been a trainer for 15 years. I've been in a million freaking gyms. A million. I mean, maybe 100,000. Okay, we'll go there. 100,000. This is the most unique gym. When I walked in there, I was like, man, this place has got it all. I mean, he's got all kinds of good stuff. So, Mike, we started talking about, because you are a track guy and you're talking about those giant treadmills that you have, which how many places in Wisconsin or across the country have those specific giant treadmills? Because those things are really high end.
Yeah, there's different types. I would for 10 years I worked for a franchise, and then back in 2010 when I started XLR8, the owner and my boss shut down the facility, so I was able to purchase the equipment and things. So yeah, for that wasn't a lot of it. My background is for 10 years I worked with a worldwide franchise that we had 160 sites worldwide, and so that's kind of where I got my start. And actually, Jeff Chambers, who you had on a while back with the Cato collar, he actually brought this training facility to Oshkosh originally when I was in college. So that's kind of full circle. You had him on the show a couple of months ago. He's one of my mentors that I went to school as a athletic trainer underneath him for a couple of years before he left for Mankato. But yeah, there's a lot of sites but there's other variations of treadmills out there now. But these are ones that I've used for 26 years now.
You mentioned earlier, Mike Draheim's our guest today, everybody. He's the founder of XLR8 Sports Training. Look it up. We'll have all this in the recap. His link will be in the recap, everybody, if you want to go to the YouTube clip. But your gym is very, very different. And it's like you mentioned earlier, the hearing, seeing, and feeling it on the treadmill. Now, we're going to talk a lot about running today because speed is everything with athletes, isn't it?
Yes.
So when you were talking about the kids coming in and the technique and the form that you have to teach them, does that happen for pretty much every of your clients, of the kids that come in there, the people that come into your gym? Do they all need like some type of remedial kind of work for their running? Because I know my running style is terrible. That's why I'm having knee replacement. We'll talk about that in a little while. But go ahead, talk about it, please. Yeah. Because technique is everything.
Yeah, it is. We break down everything because almost every sport, unless, swimming is one of the ones that comes to mind, but majority of sports, you have to run. In volleyball, you have to have 2-3 quick steps. I was joking with our volleyball kids. If you run more than 3 steps in volleyball, your team's in trouble because you're usually racing for a ball. But we need to have those first 2-3 steps to get there. So we are in a balanced position so we can cut, we can stop, we can make a play. If we're hitting the brakes, we're out of position because we're hitting our heel or digging our toe in the ground, we're off balance and we can't make our play. And so that's kind of a big thing is kind of breaking that down, because even if they don't have to run much in their game, what are they going to do in practice? They're going to run. They're going to condition. Right. Well, now if they're struggling with that, now they're going to be slower in practice. Well, that's where you can impress your coaches. But then also are you going to be better conditioned if you can be more efficient? You can go harder, longer if you're not wasting energy, but then also less stress on your body if you're having the correct foot strike and things. Especially put cleats on. You got some basketball players, but now they'll play softball or baseball in the spring, and now their cleats are an extra 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch on the bottom of their foot. Well, now that changes how their foot hits, and then we have more deceleration forces. So that's going to limit how fast we can run to first base. Watch the playoffs right now. How many times is a bang, bang play? Watching the Cubs Brewer game last night, it was a bang, bang play. Well, 1/10 of a second, that's huge. So
massive.
If you look at 10 steps, 100th of a second per step, that's 1/10 of a second. So you're looking at really minimizing or maximizing every step so we can compound that in 10, 20, 30 steps when you're on the field. So
Mike Draheim's our guest today, everybody. XLR8 Sports Training. He owns XLR8 Sports Training in Menasha, Wisconsin. I've been there many times, and it's an excellent, excellent gym. We're talking about how we can build our kids into stronger athletes. Mike, I got about 2 minutes to go before we go to break here, so I want to set this up, and we'll come back and finish this thread because I know you're going to have a lot to talk about with this. But Tom Izzo is a huge proponent of multi-sport athletes. Mm-hmm. I know you are as well. I know that you train a variety of athletes in all different sports. Your gym has got baseball, it's got softball, it's got everything. I mean, it's got. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, we have athletes that come during different times of the year. Biggest time is during the summer, and then they go into their fall sports. And if they're in a winter sport, then they might get a couple weeks in between. So then we're kind of maintaining or kind of fine tuning for the next sport. So, hey, we're going into a vertical jump sport, basketball, hey, lateral quickness, sprint, quick sprints. But then they're going into baseball. Well, now we have some kids that do lessons and things for those times. But if we have a kid that plays a fall and a spring sport, the summer is a great time for the training. And then they have their fall sport. We might see them a little bit of some maintenance things or some things that are going on. But then they're once the winter hits, now we have a long session there to get them ready for their spring sports. So it allows us to train them throughout the year when they need us.
Perfect. And that's the whole thing about this customized niche new programs that we have out there, everybody. I want to do a quick testimonial from Mike's website. I can't express how valuable XLR8 Sports Training has been for my son and daughter. Both kids started training around their 8th birthdays, and of course, they both are bigger, faster, stronger. But the biggest change is in their confidence and how they handle themselves. To see their confidence continue to grow after every session and their ability to compete in all aspects of life is more valuable as a parent than just hitting the speed club. Mike Draheim is with us, XLR8 Sports Training, and you're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to Sandy for bringing us in. Only time you'll ever hear her voice on radio. Ours on all those little bumpers. Pretty funny. Mitch Anderson, thank you for everything you do with the production end of the audio. And Vanessa, of course, doing all your work, making our video look good, making our social media look good, doing all those things. She's so busy. She's doing such a great job. If you guys need a good virtual assistant, I'm telling you, Vanessa's the bomb. I don't want to lose her, but I'd love to give her some more work if you guys got it. Okay. This segment is sponsored by, again, our friends at the selling team, because the selling team is the best. They are so awesome. And I just want you guys to know that more than awesome, they have testimonials, just like I did for Mike Draheim, my guest today, talking about his XLR8. This is for Brock Fletcher at the selling team. Our experience with the selling team was excellent in giant print. Giant print, I'm telling you. They did what they said they would do, which was in giant print again. Extremely helpful. Let me talk about extremely helpful when you're selling your house or you're buying a house. That's all I'm going to say right there. You can tell by my kind of exasperated kind of emotion there. It kind of sucks. I mean, it really does. Until you have the team, like the selling team, helping you. Extremely helpful. Yeah. They listened to what we needed in a home and found us several houses that met our criteria. Thank you so much. We love giant print, our new home giant print. That's Ben and Katie in Okemos, Michigan. Call 517-853-6408 or 517-303-3262. That's Brock's cell phone number. Text him, leave him a voicemail, get a hold of Mikey, do all those good things, sell your home without hassles, because they are the best and they helped us and we love them so much. They're awesome people, and we need you to support our sponsors so we can keep doing what we're doing. So it's like, one hand helps the other, everybody, and we want you to get the best service you can. That's what we're all about here, is good service and taking care of people. All right, my guest today, my buddy Mike Draheim, XLR8 Sports Training, XLR8 Sports Training. Now, this is a very unique niche training facility in Menasha, Wisconsin. My grandchildren go to this gym. I've been to this gym many times now. I will probably be over there next week. If Ashley tells me to go, I go and take the kids over there. And I want to go see Mike before I have my next knee done. And we started talking about multi-sport athletes and Tom Izzo. Mike, your gym is a facility where you don't, speed is any sport like you talked about with, except for swimming, maybe golf and bowling or a couple of, fringe sports, but speed and agility and balance and quickness, these are all things that can be taught. How hard is it to teach the speed and quickness? And I'm sure it depends on the person, but what kind of value do you take out of it? What do you bring to the equation for these people?
Yeah, like I said before, like kids develop as they're aging through, 5 years old to 10 years old. So they develop habits, they develop the strength in those joints. And so it could be, hey, we got to work on some mobility in your hip flexor, because when we push through, your hips tip forward, you tip forward because you don't have the hip flexibility. But then also there's some strength things that have to happen when we land, 100 pounds, I may be really good. Kids usually bounce around on the balls of their feet and stuff, but then also now they add 20, 30 pounds. Well, now they're not as strong enough to push through that. And now they land flat footed. They hit their heels, they hit brake. So that's where you see some of that, where the kids grow, either, the longer levers of their legs, like their femur. Well, now it's a longer lever. Now it takes more strength to do the same thing. But then also you have more weight. So then that takes more force. So sometimes it's the flexibility and the strength as they're younger to get them ahead of it. And that's why when they start going, they can have better results and less soreness and all that things. Versus a high school kid, they're usually fully grown. Well, now we're doing a lot of things that, hey, now you're set for 10 years. Now it takes a little bit longer to get some of those changes, but allows us to kind of work on their posture, their foot strike and things like that. But also they got to be able to generate the force with their body, because it's their body weight. And our tagline is the difference between two athletes is how much they accelerate. Well, it's how quickly they can move, but then also we kind of have a double edge on that one is, how much they accelerate, how many times they come into our facility, because the more time we have with them, the better results we can get.
Oh, it's all about incremental change, everybody. And I talk about this. You have to put in the time. It's all about reps. It's all about reps. Mike Draheim's my guest today, everybody. XLR8 Sports Training. We're just talking about multi-sport athletes with kids. Let's talk about adults. You bring adults in there and you got some issues. I have my issue with my knee. Let's talk about the knee replacement situation, because you're kind of helping me with that too. And I'm sure there's millions of people having this procedure done. I had no idea. But do you get many clients in that are going through that, older adults that perhaps are going through that, or other adults or athletes that have had knee injuries? I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, we get a lot of our athletes, but then I've had some parents that have torn ACL, and so we kind of help them when they get done with their physical therapy or getting close to get the functionality back of, hey, walking up steps better, going out for a walk. I can go for a long walk versus, hey, I got to rest every once in a while. But you're doing a really good job with doing your prehab. You're getting all the strength because you're going to lose some strength. Well, it's better to be ahead of it than like, oh, now I've got to get back to a good spot before I can see gains. But then, I also had a guy that he was at my house today doing, putting a door in for me. He was having trouble climbing a ladder because he didn't have the mobility in his hips and the strength. And we worked on that kind of things, and he was able to start climbing the ladders, and he actually got back into playing hockey, just because he wanted to do that and his knees were always bothering him. So it's more of the functionality as when you're older, you're not about getting ready for a sport. You're looking at, hey, how do I get through my day easier, more efficient, and now I'm not sore at the end of the day, and enjoy life.
And avoiding pain and enjoying life are two, they kind of work together because enjoying pain kind of sucks. And let me tell you, because I've had about 5 weeks of going through this first one, and it's been interesting. I'm glad you brought up the prehab, Mike, and thank you for saying that, because I did put a lot of energy into the prehab. And I'm going to reinforce this with people because, listen, guys, I had my meeting with my surgeon this week, another follow-up meeting for the next knee, and he looked at the other one. He gave me an A+ on this recovery of this one. It's been 6 weeks, an A+. He said that, my recovery is probably one of the fastest he's ever seen. And I'm telling you, it's all because of the prehab. It's all because of the prehab. And it's like, and having the right mindset. And that's the whole thing. That's another thing, Mike, where you teach the mental side of things. I mean, the mental side of things, how to be resilient. Give me a couple minutes on resiliency with these kids, because I'm sure you see that maybe with your son, with other kids. You got a couple minutes. Talk about resiliency and how coaching can be rough.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to take it.
Yeah. So coaching is more of, it's not just about drilling what they need to do. It's about helping them understand how they can use their body, get more out of them than what they think they can, and then push it to a different level, because until you push there, you don't know what you can do. So some of our workouts are some challenging workout parts of it. And then you get done, and they look ahead and no, don't look ahead. Look at this run. They look at this lift, get through this, and then we reassess. Hey, if you did that well, we're going to progress, or we're going to finish this out. Where if you don't, hey, we can kind of adjust it a little bit. But we need to not only physically, but we got to mentally challenge the kids to push through. Because what happens in the fourth quarter? The ones that can push through and say, hey, I'm not backing down. Hey, I need one more stop. Those are the ones that are going to perform versus like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Our athletes, we try to have them go through things and say, hey, I've been here before. I can't get to the point that I get with my workouts because I'm pushing myself individually. And now we get to the sport. Now it's easier. Now I can go longer. And that helps with the mental part of it too. And where they're going to not only physically, but mentally be able to have resiliency during a game or a practice and say, hey, I have to worry about my teammates, not about me. Coach can push us, and I'm fine with that because that's how we get better at the end of the year.
Great explanation. XLR8 Sports Training. That's the title of today's episode, everybody. Mike Draheim's my guest today. And when we come back from break, because we're going to go to break here in a second, I want to talk about the money side of youth sports. What Mike sees, where do we get the value? As I mentioned earlier, Ashley called me because I've been a trainer for a long time, and she asked me what I thought, and I did the numbers, and I was like, I want to see how much is the cost. What is the cost? And if we don't pay the money, how do we make up the time? Because I worry about kids that don't have the funds to get to a guy like Mike. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
This segment of The Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by the Source of Light and Power by band leader Ark of All and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.bandcamp.com.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us this week. If you're just joining us, thank you. XLR8 Sports Training is what we're talking about today. Today's episode is titled that. Mike Draheim's my guest. Mike is a outstanding coach and athletic trainer, sports performance specialist, 26 years, knows his stuff inside out. But the cool thing about Mike is he's a track guy. And I can't say this enough. If you're going to be an elite athlete, if you're going to be a good athlete, if you want to have fun as an athlete, you got to have mobility, you got to have quickness, you got to have a little bit of speed, okay? Or you're just not going to have any fun. And if you're not conditioned for it and you get dinged or you get sore, it's just no fun, okay? We want to bring the fun back into activities why Mike and I get along so well, because listen, activities that promote movement, this is a saying that I use all the time, Mike, because I don't want to use like fitness and exercise all the time because people who are deconditioned don't like it. I say activities that promote movement that are fun. Okay. Activities that promote movement that are fun. So you people out there that are deconditioned, don't worry about it. Okay. We're talking about that knee replacement thing and that prehab. Get a hold of me. I can get you on a 6-week program that'll at least help do something for you. And that's what we want you to do now. Get a hold of Mike over at XLR8 Sports Training and talk to him about whatever. And if you're across the country, send him an email. But Mike, how do you want people to connect with you?
Easiest way is if they can go to our website. It's XLR8 foxvalley.com. Again, XLR8 foxvalley.com. Email, it's pretty easy. Workout at accelerate.foxvalley.com. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of us. Our phone number, 920-735-9578. Again, 920-735-9578. But usually emails is kind of the best thing, just because we can get a hold of, we can kind of go back and forth on the thread a little bit easier. And we have XLR8 Sports on our Facebook. Also, we have Twitter and Instagram. But those are kind of the main things of just how to contact us.
There you go. And reach out. I don't know how much online coaching you do, Mike, but I could see you doing more and more of this kind of stuff. And as we said earlier about the franchising of his business, I think it's a perfect franchise model, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later. I want to talk about money and youth sports. Okay. Because you're part of the money equation. Okay. Let's start with it. Like the whole, how it's changed talk about the last 20 years, the last 10 years, the last 2 years. I mean, the gear, the cost, the camps, go for it, bro. You know all this stuff.
Yeah. When I first started, it was more of, if you had a tournament team or a club team that you'd go to, it was like the best of the best. You had they had one team for that age group. And now you've kind of gotten where you have 2, 3, maybe 4 teams per age group per organization. And so that's just one thing. Is with the recruiting stuff, it's making sure you're not chasing it. It's going to the right things. I always tell people, if you're looking at certain schools, go to their camps. Don't just go to every camp, because those are money makers for those schools. Those are fundraisers. So if you're going to go to a camp, you want to go to the ones that you're looking at those schools, so you can see the coach, you can see how they do practices and things like that. But yeah, it's one thing, as I always say, is for the amount of money we spend, and if we just got to make sure we spend the right money, like for training, okay, because we show our potential, we show how we work, and we show all that stuff. But if we don't do the training, we can go to every tournament we want, and we're not going to set ourselves apart. So it's making sure we put all that together.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got to ask you, how much is it is it annoying? I don't mean to put anybody down or anything, but Mike, when you see, like when I first saw these 7-year-old girls in these uniforms that look like the Oakland A's, I was shocked. I was like, what? I mean, does it bother you when you see all this money going to like a $500 bat or a $5,000 to join this team, when you could take a small? Does that bother you when you know that money's not being really allocated correctly? And we need to help parents understand, listen, if you want to do the right thing, put a little money over here, and right, please help parents.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. Is it's fine, but we just got to make sure we don't miss the things that are important for development. Running to, hockey tournament for a weekend, and how much ice time did we get? Where if you can do, if the team puts some money together and does one ice training, they could be further ahead. If the team is struggling, there's certain teams that, they can go those things, but sometimes you have, teams that are traveling further than they probably should, but it's a great experience. My son's trying to do a tournament out in Cooperstown, New York, but they train all summer long to go to one tournament in August, so they're spending 2 hours twice a day or twice a week, training 2 to 3 hours for those days, and then training. They could easily go to a tournament early on in the summer, but their philosophy is, we want to coach, we want to train all summer before we go to this tournament. And, it's not about how many tournaments you're doing, it's how well you're doing at these tournaments, if you're doing it to showcase. But then also is, I'd probably get in a little trouble with some of my thoughts on this, but it's more of, kids aren't, it's development, getting into the competition part is important. But if you're thinking, hey, we need to go to this tournament because these scouts are going to be here, and but at 12 or 13, they're looking at the 15 to 16-year-olds. But if it's something that, that's where it's having the right reasons and where we're allocating, because sometimes we're told, well, we got to go to these big tournaments because we're there's going to be, high showcase things. Yeah, we can show our development, but if you're a kid that's 15 or 16 years old and you're not really good, but now you invest a year or two and now all of a sudden you're 17 and you can throw 95 miles an hour, you're going to get noticed. It didn't matter what you were at 14, but you want to start progressing. But that's the thing, is where we got to make sure that we're allocating our time, especially in the right spots of how do we develop through our development, because they're developing as a junior high school kid. It's not like they're going to be the same spot when they're 12, they're going to be 18 years old.
Also, Mike, please talk about the social aspect of team sports, which I try to emphasize with parents all the time. It's like, listen, get with the right team for the right reasons, but the social is very, very good, right? Yeah.
And that's the thing, is where you have to have the right environment. If you're on a certain team, you're going to spend a lot of time, not only the kids, but the parents and with all that. And if things don't go very good, now, that's where usually we have issues. When everyone's winning, then it's fine. So that's where it's like picking the right thing. Like volleyball is a really good one, is, hey, what level do you want to play at? Do you just want to play at state level? Do you want to go more region, or do you want to go to a national? Well, that takes a little bit more time investing, and how much, and it also is, hey, I can only do this one because it's done in March. So now I can play my spring sport. But if you're just a high level of volleyball player, you're doing stuff in the spring, so you can't do a spring high school sport. So that's where it's finding the right position for yourself, but then also like, hey, how much time and effort am I going to put into this, and make sure it's a right fit. So that's probably where I see a lot of it, and it's just more, we try to educate the parents when they're looking doing this tryouts. It's like, okay, but what do you want to get out of this? Making sure you're in the right spot for what you're trying to get out of it.
Exactly, because parents are putting a lot of money into their children. And I coached for years and years and years with Sandy before all of this advent of this stuff. We got up to about Travel League here in Michigan. And let me tell you guys, everybody, because, we're regionally broadcast in the Midwest, but the difference between what I've seen here in mid-Michigan and what I've seen in the Fox Valley of Wisconsin, which is about 30 miles, just to give you guys a reference geographically, it's about 30 miles south of Green Bay. Okay, we have a home over there in Kimberly. The level of athletes that I've seen over there is off the charts. I mean, there are teams in this small pocket of Wisconsin where they're doing something right over there, because I'm telling you, these teams are winning state championships. And it's not just one school, right, Mike? I mean, you got a minute here. Please tell me a little bit about some of your successful schools, and I'll give you the signal.
Yeah, we train athletes from almost every school in the region. There's usually teams that are for baseball, football, basketball. They're area going to state. Actually 2 years ago we had 48 kids that went to the state track meet, and the boys and girls both scored over 100 points when I did their scoring. This last year we had a little down year. We had 42 kids go to state that we worked with, but from almost every school in the area. So it's kind of hard when I go to the meet. It's like Division I, Division II, Division III. We have a lot of Division I schools in the area, and that's probably why. I think there's like 9 or 10 in 20-minute range that are Division I schools, and then we have Division II and Division III. So we have a large variety of athletes and teams.
Just goes to show you that the competition out there, everybody, is nationally is massive. I mean, it's crazy. It's places like XLR8 Sports Training where the kids, I'm telling you right now, and adults can get the edge. It all comes down to finding the right people. And let me tell you something. If you want to become a better runner, if you want to be a better walker, and I'm going to have Mike check me out when I get both my knees done so he can take a look at my gait, because go to a track guy, find a Mike Draheim. These guys know their stuff. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262. or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Segment 5 of the radio program on very exclusive radio stations and, of course, on all of the podcasts. So thank you so much for joining us. All of our listeners in segment 5 at WKAR, you guys are the bomb. Love WKAR so much. You're great. Mike Draheim's with me today. XLR8 Sports Training. Mike is a sports performance expert, athletic trainer, 26 years. He has a fantastic business over in Menasha, Wisconsin, XLR8 Sports Training, that I love this place. It's great. I mean, I haven't trained there. I watched and witnessed my grandkids going there and watching all these other kids and watching the coaches and watching the trainers that Mike has on his staff. And these guys are great. I mean, they're putting them through the whole gamut. And it's not just running. There's a lot of strength that goes into it. But before we go there, Mike, let's give your contact info one more time. There's a little bit more we want to discuss here, but I want to make sure people can get a hold of you, maybe for a remote coaching. Do you do like Zoom sessions where they can get a lower rate and you can talk to them for half an hour and just charge them that way? Do you do stuff like that?
Yeah, I have done some stuff. It's with the running stuff, it's kind of hard because you're trying to like visually, but I've actually done it where I had Chris Bosio was a pitching coach for the Cubs. He worked he was working with a kid out in Arizona, and I got on a Zoom call with him, and the mom would videotape the kid run. The kid would come back and say, okay, now let's work on this. And then he would go back. So, and Chris does some pitching lessons like that remotely too. But yeah, I've done a little bit, but it's not efficient as much as, like, okay, we do a strength training thing, because the kid usually have to run, and then they go away from you. So it takes a little bit more time and stuff. But yeah, I've done a little bit.
How many kids, young adults, have you put into college in some type of athletic scholarship or some type of aid? Do you have a rough number on that? Because I know you got I almost swore there. You got a bunch of jerseys and all over your walls over there. How many kids have you elevated to the next level?
I wish I would have started counting right away, because you never think about it until later on. But we've got about 200 Division I or pro athletes we've worked with, and they're mostly from the area. And then
in all sports, right? In
all sports, yes. Actually, I got 2 kids that moved here for a little bit. They're playing. They were table tennis, and then they moved away, but they're ranked high in table tennis. And people are like, "How did you do that?" Like, well, it's kind of the same stuff they need to do, but also. Probably one of the coolest things is I got probably right around 100 kids that I've trained that I actually trained their parents. So that kind of comes full circle. It's kind of neat, kind of getting to know some of these parents, but also it probably shows that we did a good job, because they're bringing their kids back and saying, "Hey, this is what I did. This is what you need to do," and stuff. So that's probably,
probably a great testimonial,
number.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's a great testimonial to your services. I mean, all right. So let's switch gears a little bit here, because we've covered a lot of territory with all of this. Again, resetting. XLR8 Sports Training is today's title, everybody. XLR8 Sports Training. I'll have that link in the recap. Vanessa will take care of that. Mike Draheim's my guest. Mike, you were teaching me a little bit and talking to me the last time I saw you about some breathing exercises and how you've become an expert in this field. And I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about this, because to be perfectly honest, I mean, when you started talking to me at the gym that day, it kind of flew over my head, because it was like, this stuff, you run through it pretty quickly. Tell everybody, what is RPR breathing?
Yeah, it's called reflexive performance reset. It's kind of like one of the things is never stop learning. Continuously trying to find new things. And one of my friends was a strength coach. He goes, "You need to check this out." And so went to his college that they were hosting a seminar, and it's a couple of guys. One is the Gopher strength coach, Cal Dietz. And then there's other coaches, but basically it's kind of trigger points in the body, but how they relate to muscles. Kind of like you have like a heart attack, it's the left shoulder, all this. There's things for like diaphragms not working properly. It's a pinching your right shoulder, or they get the side ache. So there's different pressure points in the body that you can do with your breathing, but also hip flexion, extension in your hip. There's different things you can do based on everything. So a lot of stuff I do when I have kids coming in that are coming off of injury, we need to reset the body and how it's supposed to work, because your body's in survival mode when we get hurt or we have surgeries. and the body kind of compensates. So allows us to kind of take it and say, hey, we need to get a performance mode. It kind of probably the easiest way is like, if you walk into your living room, if you have a dimmer switch on, you flip the switch, it goes on, but it's not totally bright. It's there. We got strength, but we don't have full strength. But then we can turn it up. Well, in athletics, we need it now. So instead of like turning on the lights, I walk in, I got some really good LED lights. When I hit it, it's full bore right away. And that's what we're trying to do when we're doing the RPR is trying to get the body set so it can work the glute strength. Because if we don't have the right glute strength, well, it's going to affect how when we land, the knee pops in and our arch collapses a little bit and stuff like that. So it allows us to kind of tweak the body a little bit, but we improve with that. You can improve your flexibility and strength strength response, basically, for how quickly it fires in just doing those resets, which is cool.
I got to say, let me take a quick break here, because the time that when I was with Mike and he was telling me about this thing, we were doing some stuff and he had me do some movements with my hip. Okay. Because, I've had this hip knee thing going on for like a long time. And I'm telling you, the release that you get, it was crazy. I mean, it's just like, opens up I don't know how it works, but it works. How does it work?
It's basically connecting the muscle and the neural system saying, hey, we need to fire. So there's things we do on certain spots of the body, but then you can actually fine tune it. So instead of like the shotgun approach, if we're hitting the whole area, we can find the exact spot in the muscle that's triggering. And when we hit a reset, so like a glute resets on the back of your head, but if we're doing something in your hip and here's a spot where it's not firing right, well, now we irritate that area and then irritate the back of the head a little bit, and it connects the dots. Kind of, it's probably the layman's word of how to do that. We're connecting everything.
Mike, describe what you're. Okay, so I'm seeing you on our video, but our radio listeners are going to be wondering what we're talking about here. Describe to the radio listeners these points on our bodies that will help us kind of relax and or become more energized. I guess I'm at a loss for words. Is that a good way of? But describe that for the radio listeners,
so
please.
A basic one for like breathing is we're basically going to do like a belly breath. So instead of like people like breathe in, their shoulders raise up, we actually want to keep our shoulders still. And we're just going to try and exhale, your stomach goes in. As I inhale, my stomach should go out. Like if you have your hand on your belly button, you should be pushing into your hand when you inhale and exhale. Then you take one hand, you kind of take your knuckles and you go right down like your sternum, basically from the bottom of your throat, like on that bone, right down the middle of your chest. You're just going to rub basically irritating it. Like you're trying to rub through your bone. And then you can kind of cup your fingers and then you're going to rub underneath your rib cage. Like you're trying to hit the bottom and inside of your rib cage. And starting, in the middle, don't hit that xiphoid process like you're supposed to stay away from for CPR, but right underneath the rib cage, you work it all the way around to your sides. And that's the breathing reset. So a lot of times people are having trouble breathing or their shortness of breath. Yeah, you focus on that diaphragmatic breathing, but then you do that, it helps reset your breathing. So that's one that it's kind of like the first one, just to kind of, because then if we get your body relaxed and say, hey, we're breathing right, well, now we can go a lot further with other stuff. So.
Oh, so there's a step, you have to work through the steps of this to kind of get your body ready for this. I get it. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, you can, but then other ones is if I have a certain thing I know my quad's bothering me, I can just focus on my quad. But usually the breathing kind of helps us get settled in, relaxed state. And then your body can get out of survival mode and into performance.
How do you like the term when I say, I think of your gym as a laboratory? Do you like that?
It kind of is, because we're testing things, on how it responds to the athlete. We know the results we're going to get, but we're basically testing our athletes and say, hey, can you do this? Can we add this weight and still keep your explosiveness? So we're testing our athletes of how well we can push each other and how well we recover and then how well they perform when they go out into the field. And that's kind of why during different times that we go out to games and stuff, we like to see the kids perform and just to kind of see them in their element. And then sometimes that helps us train them when they come back in again, say, hey, I saw this, I saw that.
So you do quite a bit of that, don't you? Because you go to a lot of events. Yeah.
So, and that's the fun part of that is, our work is done at that point. we're just kind of observing and kind of seeing them in their element, but then it also allows us to kind of coach it up a little bit. And hey, I noticed this or this, and I'm on the sidelines tonight for football.
Positive reinforcement, man. That's awesome. I need a quick takeaway from you because we're going to run out of time here. Mike, got about a minute to go. Mike Draheim's been my guest today, everybody. XLR8 Sports Training. What's your takeaway from your first visit with us?
For just the biggest thing is athletes and parents need to know is there's avenues to get better. Where if I'm just doing the stuff at my school with everyone else, am I going to progress? If I'm doing the same thing as the kid next to me, all right, I'm going to level up with them. If I'm struggling with some things, I need to do a little bit more. Can I find out some individual training and making sure it's the right individual training for what we need to accomplish? But then also is there certain things that I'm having issues with, injuries or something that I need to make sure I'm working on those too, on top of what I'm doing at school or what I'm doing at training. It's taking care of all those little things. You're making sure you're getting your flexibility, making sure you're doing your rest, getting your sleep, getting your nutrition right. There's a lot of little things that if you don't do it, add up negatively. And it makes it hard to progress your body. So that's the kind of thing is where it's just not just how hard you work, it's how well you're working and how well you're recovering. Because we're going to break down the body, but now the recovery is where we build up stronger. So if we just go, we can see gains, but after a while it says, wait a minute, I'm not recovering, and then my training starts to go downhill a little bit, and that's where injuries start to come in.
Keep that in mind, everybody. If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests like a Mike Draheim. Topics or issues, please let us know. Sponsorships are available. Hit us up. Website is TomMattShow.com. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Get with XLR8 Sports Training. If you got kids, you got a little injury, you want to try to fix some stuff, Mike knows his thing. He is very, very, very good. Thanks again to my pal, Mike Draheim. I'll see him soon. Sandy, Craig Stiles, Brock Fletcher, all the guests on the show. We'll talk to you next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And lastly, I always like to say thank you to our staff. Vanessa, you rock. And Mitch Anderson, well, you are the man. Until next time, everybody, I am out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Arc of All.